Okay, so in a sec you're going to see my pre-workout meal, but what can we kind of expect from a pre-workout meal, or what you actually want to be aiming for within that meal. So to kind of break it down, I'm going to put some guides somewhere in the video, try and stick it anywhere that I'm pointing my fingers. Now I haven't just kind of plucked that out of thin air, I've not plucked out my arse. It has taken from the JT University, so you that are more sort of bodybuilding familiar might know what that is, so you can kind of be rest assured that that's some good quality information for you guys to use. Again, they're guides, so try and experiment with maybe higher quantities, lower quantities of each macronutrient that we're going to be going over. But getting into it, carbs. What do you want to be going for? So you want a mix of sort of lower glycemic and high glycemic carbs, but what does that even mean? It just basically means how quickly those carbs are going to digest. They're going to be slower digestion, fast digestion. You want a mix of both. Fats is going to vary, basically depending on kind of what you prefer and how your body responds, but we want sort of minimal fats. The longer that session gets away from your pre-workout meal, the more fats you're going to want to have. So if you're training 2.5 hours before, you might want to bump the fats up. If you're only training like an hour before, you might want to have pretty minimal fats. Again, experiment with that. Some people are going to respond a little bit better to more fats, some people are going to respond a little bit better to less fats, but stay within the range that I've put on the screen somewhere, and then just play about with what actually suits you best. And then protein, a lot of people forget about this. You are actually going to want to have some protein, moderate protein intake for, again, depending on your body weight. But a lot of people will just disregard that completely. They'll go and quickly try and grab some carbs and just kind of completely disregard fats and protein. So you do want to have a good quality protein in there, one that's going to not cause any upset, one that's going to digest fairly well, and yeah, you want to again stay within that range and experiment with that. That's not going to be as much of a range compared to like carbs and fats. That's just going to be pretty much based off your body weight. So we'll dive into it now. You can see what I have for my pre-workout meal, and then you have that information to do as you wish, and you can experiment with that and see what works for you. So let's get into the meal. What's good, people? This is very weird. I feel like I'm a proper vlogger. Anyway, we are going to be running you through an upper session. We're going to kind of walk you through it again. Got the mics on this time. Hopefully it's going to be a lot better than the voiceover from the previous video, and we can run you through things a little bit more in depth. Hopefully you can take something away from that. We'll get stuck into it and I'll show you what my upper session looks like. Right, so before we even get into the workout, I'd like to go through some retraction work. This is really just to get efficient at going through scapular retraction, as this is kind of the position that I'm wanting to hold as I press. And it's something that I struggle with, so personally I like to go through this at the start of my sessions. It really just primes me and gets me feeling good and confident to press. Right, so from here, jumping on the cable stack behind me, we're just going to go through some contraction work. So this is really just to drive a better neurological connection, drive that mind muscle connection, so that when I go into that press, it's obviously better. So what we'll go through, it's probably better me just showing you, to be honest. So pretty short range of motion, squeezing, more of a decline. From there we hold the contraction, we go up, and then we can do some contractions here. So we'll do 6 in each position, and then we'll move down, do another 6. We've just got a couple rounds of this on each arm. Again, nothing too heavy, nothing that we're looking to actually progressively overload, not looking to cause any fatigue, just driving a good neurological connection to the chest. Nice hard contractions, and we're moving into that press. Right, so warm up and priming work complete. Now we're moving on to the first sort of heavy meat and potato press of this session. Now, just going to protect my ego a wee bit here. This Smith machine is heavy as fuck. If you've used a Primal Smith, then you will know. Just had to get that out of the way. But you can see we're not reverse banding it this time, so I've not got a band attached here. Sometimes you'll see me doing that. Reason why? I'm nice and fresh, so I've literally not created any fatigue. This is the first movement, so we're just going to load it up as it is. Heavy work here. I've got 5 to 8 rep range, and I've got a 10 to 12 rep range. Let's just get stuck into it and you can see how this moves, or how it doesn't move, really. 5, boys. Just got fucking limbo out of that. So next we're jumping on the Cybex shoulder press behind me, but before we do that, I want to talk about upper structuring. Now, obviously there's loads and loads of ways you can go about structuring an upper day, but just in case you're wondering, I do prefer to put pushing volume at the start, just because it's generally much easier to hold on to pull-in strength when you're fatigued compared to trying to hold on to push strength when you're fatigued. So the main way we break this down is main chest press, main shoulder press, main tricep compound as well. So main tricep movement might not be like a press or a compound. And then we move into our pull-in work, and then we tag arms on at the end. Right, so when you're performing pressing movements, you always want to try and make sure you can bring whatever you're pressing to a physical halt, and physically bringing that machine, dumbbell, barbell, whatever it might be, to a standstill before you then press again. Just going to make sure that the tension is taken off of ligaments, tendons, you're not bouncing out of holes, so we can actually make sure that the muscles that we want to use are actually working and they're taking the brunt of that load. So yeah, cut that, put that in a reel. So, tricep exercise of choice for this upper session is going to be over shoulder tricep extension. Now, I absolutely love this movement. I connect very well with it. It's very stable for me, so that's why I've got this in as my sort of like main tricep movement today. Now, something I kind of wanted to discuss was the term sort of like mass builders around exercises. So you could have something maybe like a dip or a close grip bench or something like that, but for me, I do not really connect well with those movements. So if I do not connect well with those movements, is it going to build me mass? Is it going to build me more mass than this if I can't connect well with it, if I don't enjoy it? Or is something I connect well with, enjoy, and can progressively overload, is that going to build me more mass in my triceps? Probably. So just because it's like a more compoundy mass building exercise doesn't necessarily mean it's going to build loads and loads of more muscle for you compared to this. You might actually benefit more from like an isolation type movement. Okay, so moving on to the first back movement of the upper session, we're moving on to a lat focused row here, seated, which offers a little bit more stability. We're obviously going to be feeling pretty fatigued from the rest of the session, so opting for something I don't have to stabilise myself is usually a better shout for me. Then we're moving on to a single arm cable lat pull down, more sort of high to low pull here, so biasing those lower lat fibres. The previous row was more of a neutral row, so it would have been biasing more mid lat fibres. Moving on to a cable lat raise here. You can see I've set this cable up a little bit higher than normal. I'm not pulling from the floor. That's just to bias the delt a little bit more in its length into mid-range since we're at the end of the session. Now, even though I'm going to be putting that cuff around my wrist, I'm still going to be holding on to something and squeezing a grip. That's just going to create a little bit more stability around the elbow and the shoulder. And if we can make an exercise a little bit safer, then why wouldn't we?
You know what's not lame? Safety.
Then we finished the session off with some tricep and bicep work. Unfortunately, only got some triceps filmed here. We can see a single arm push down. Then we also went for a single arm cable bicep curl as well, just to again bias the fact that we can work unilaterally here, so work on any imbalances and also get some good alignment so we can line up the joints and the line of force and line of pull correctly and efficiently in order to achieve a greater stimulus. So that's what we finished the workout with.